Okay, so now to the webinar. So in times of remote work, it is critical to take extra precautions to your company's information security. So Stratus Communications and Hosticka Assurance Group decided to take this opportunity to partner and promote a live Q&A session for business owners who'd like expert advice on how to best protect your company's information. So this is how we plan the webinar. We have prearranged 4 questions for this session, okay? I'll go through the topics in a minute. You can see in your screen as well, but we want you to feel free to write your own questions in the Zoom chat. We plan for 45 minutes for the prearranged questions and then 15 minutes in the end to get through additional questions. If we're not able to get to your questions during the webinar because we have to do a hard stop at 1, we will just contact you and respond it directly after the event, okay? So now with the questions. So for the session, we plan to go through the following topics. The first question will be regarding phishing emails. Then we'll go a little bit about identity theft. Question number 3 will be on ransomware. And question number 4, password best practices, okay? The questions will be answered by Lee J. Stewart. He is the founder and managing director of Stratus Communications, and also by Fran Hosticka from Hosticka Assurance Group. Both companies are proud members of the McHenry Area Chamber of Commerce. So now I'll pass over to you, Lee J. You can do a quick introduction of yourself, and you can pass to Frank, and then we'll just go back and start the webinar.
Sounds great. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I know hopefully you got your lunch or whatever, and you can sit and learn a little bit today. Our goal is really for you to learn a couple things, ideally you didn't know before, that might be able to help you and your organization. My name is Lee J. Stewart with Stratus Communications. We focus on IT so you can focus on your business. I've been in IT for a little over, or technology for a little over 20 years. From directing IT for large, highly regulated organizations, over 13,000 employees, to now working with small, mid-sized organizations with Stratus. Our primary focus is partnering with companies to deliver an exceptional managed service experience. This includes outsourced CIO or Chief Information Officer, or Chief Information Technology Officer, down to working with and handling the day-to-day activities. Frank?
Good afternoon, everyone. Frank Hosticka, Hosticka Assurance Group. Many of you know me as the membership director for the Chamber of Commerce. That's my part-time job that I do. And then my wife and I own Hosticka Assurance Group, and we help people with a lot of their needs. And specifically, I'm appointed with a company called Legal Shield, and our focus is on taking the stressing and the guessing out of dealing with legal matters, as well as identity theft solutions for individuals, families, and small business owners. I've been involved with them for over 10 years. And yeah, I think we bring some great value to the marketplace in regards to the solutions we offer for small business owners and entrepreneurs. And happy to be with you here today. And with that, back to you, Lace.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we start with the first question, I believe it would be interesting for everyone to have a little background about the cybersecurity topic in general. So, Lee J, could you please share with us a little bit of an overview before we dig into the questions?
Sure. So, thank you, Lais. Cybersecurity can be a very, very broad topic, right? It's I like to consider it like an onion. You pull back all the different layers and there's different levels. And we're going to talk about a very few specific areas today around phishing email, ransomware, identity theft, and some password management. And of course, any questions you may have as well. Cybersecurity is, it's not a matter of when so much, or if, it's a matter of when, okay? So how do you protect yourself? There are so many threat vectors that are out there, so many threats in general. It's almost or nearly impossible to prevent them all, okay? At least with the technology aspect. Even with technology, process, people, it's still pretty hard to protect against everything. So what's important for you, and for our clients specifically, is to have a clear understanding of what the risk is, and does the extra protection, education, and we'll talk about education a lot today. Frank mentions it, I mentioned it. Education, insurance, do they make sense for your company, for your organization, for you individually? Okay. The more you know, the more protected you can be. Okay. So we'll talk about education more and more. The number one defense against cyber threats is education for the people that use technology. Thank you. Lais?
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So now let's jump to the first question of the webinar, and it is about phishing emails. Lijay, again, back to you. What can be done about phishing emails?
So let's start with just a brief overview of what phishing is, right? So phishing emails, I think everyone knows what phishing is. So it's the same concept. You have these bad actors that are trying to send you an email, right? They're throwing out a line with a hook on it, something for you to click on, something for you to go into, and they're trying to capture information. The information that they're capturing is for mainly monetary gain, not always, but that's the main purpose for phishing is monetary gain. There can be where they're just doing it for maliciousness or even identity theft, which Frank will talk about more later. Okay. So with that being said, you know, from an IT point of view, technology is not the only answer. Okay. We can do a lot. We can put in system after system after system to help prevent the majority of the malware attempts that come in, but it would be very costly and even cause negative disruption in your organization if we were blocking everything, because you get all these false positives. And if you haven't heard that term before, that's when a legitimate email is coming into your organization is being blocked by your spam filter, junk mail, or whatever, and then you have to figure out a way to make sure it comes in and gets into your main inbox. Think about it like using a net to prevent the messaging from coming in. First, is the net big enough? Is it tight enough to prevent the massive emails that you receive? Is it too tight? Are you actually getting a lot of false positives? Do you allow or prevent personal email in your organization? Is personal email part of your organization? What are the things that you're doing as an organization, and how do you manage it? What are your processes? What are your procedures? Okay. Next slide, Lais. So what can you do? I don't want to go into all this background. There's all kinds of information out there about phishing. I want to give you some things that you can do. For your organization, one of the first things you can do is just check to see if your email is set up properly. Are you an organization that, you get a call from someone you sent an email saying they never got it, right? Or it's caught in their spam all the time, things like that. You get complaints related to that. How much spam junk mail are you getting? Are you getting, I can tell you that the average organization gets between 30 and 60% of all mail is spam and junk mail. Of that, about 20% of that, up to 20% of that is roughly phishing attempts. Some of that, 3 to 5%, is virus and malware having actually attached to it if it's not getting blocked. Okay? You should expect, for you should be expecting no more than 5%. So that's like 5 out of every 100 emails being spam in your inbox. Realistically, if things are all set up right, you can get that down to less than 1%. So 1 out of every 100 emails that are actually coming into your inbox versus your spam folder, junk folder, or being captured in your spam filtering system. There's tools to check your email setup. So like it's MX Toolbox, and we will send a presentation after with some of these links in there. MX Toolbox is a good example. There are several and many of these out there, but if you run your domain, and it'll do a lookup to check to see if you're configured properly, if there's anything missing. Don't be worried if there is something missing. Just it's not going to change anything overnight. Just get a chance to talk to your IT organization, and if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us as well. But that's how you can check. Do you have any additional controls in place? For example, are any of the people in your organization receiving emails from themselves that are not that they didn't send? Are people in finance receiving emails from you that you didn't send? Things like that. If you're seeing those types of events, there's other controls that can be put in place or additional controls to help protect the environment. Learn how to spot fake messages. Okay, this is a big one. You got to kind of give it the smell test, right? If it smells funny, looks funny, you don't know who it's from, it's probably funny. In this case, probably bad, being sent by a bad actor, right? So you want to try to understand if there's links in messages where they're asking for your information, trying to get your data, trying to get you to pay for something directly, and it's not something you were expecting, not something you know, or someone from someone you know, or an organization you know, chances are it's bad. Go into your web browser, use the link. Frank will talk about this a little bit more later too, from an identity theft perspective. There are organizations out there, free guides on how to spot fakes. StaySafeOnline.org is a good source. Consumer.ftc.gov has lots of articles related to this as well. These are just good sources for you to be more educated, right? And of course, we're trying to give you some tips and tricks today as well. Other technical solutions, if you have Norton, for example, if you're a Comcast customer, even at home, you can get Norton from them. But if you have it in your organization, even if it's not Norton, they have web reputation systems built in. So when you do click on a link or you go to a website, it does a reputation check to see if that is a valid site. Now, it's not 100% accurate, but if it's a site that doesn't have a reputation or has a bad reputation, they raise red flags right in your browser to help you to protect against those types of things. There's lots of solutions out there like this, Cisco Umbrella, Zscaler, Norton. It depends on your organization and your situation, but even on a personal level as well. If you're not sure, the last thing here I'll tell you is if you're not sure, ask. IT organizations, your IT person will appreciate the fact that if you're not sure, contact them and let them take a look at it to see if it is legitimate. Now, granted, you'll get better at this as you go along by doing the smell test, so to speak, but as you're getting better at this, still there's these really good looking legitimate emails that come in. Don't be afraid to ask your IT organization. That's what we're there for. We can see the details behind the email and give you a good assessment of whether or not it's legitimate or if there's something truly bad about it. And again, you'll get a feel for it. One of the things we do for our clients is we provide in our managed service clients, we provide a monthly report that shows them the email that they receive and the overall spam. This is a client with only about 10 to 15 people in the organization. You can see they're receiving over 10,000 emails in the month of April. Over half, almost 60% were spam that we captured. And beyond that, you see that there was 122 emails that came in we captured that had viruses, okay? This is a system that we use with a lot of our clients, not all, but most of the clients when they come on board as a managed service. The point here is not to say we can do this versus someone else. The point here is your providers also offer this type of solutions that you could probably go to them and ask them what is our stats, and they'd be happy to answer that. They should be. Last thing here on phishing that I'll talk about is just a couple of interesting statistics. From January to March, over 51,000 coronavirus themed domains were registered. Of those 51,000, a large portion of those, and we're talking this year, large portion of those are meant to be malicious. They're domains with HTTPS, all these things in there to make them look legit for you to go to and give them your money and information. That was per Checkpoint Technologies. Lastly, 32% of confirmed data breaches were from phishing. So it's another area, again, for you to be mindful of and be careful. It's not just malware, they're targeting organizations. With that, I'll turn it back over. Light.
Okay, thank you so much. That was really good information. Now